Wolfie.
And I'm the dude, and we roll rocks.
Rocks.
Today we're going to fill our Ultravibe 10-pound tumbler. This is a vibratory tumbler, and I've already got the top loosened up. We're going to take the bowl off. We've got some rocks here from our finished bucket that we're going to put in there. We're going to pour them through the sieve and put them in wet. Looks like we got some Unikite in there. We got a piece of Kambaba jasper, crocodile jasper. We got some Botswana agates, some small Botswanas, some large Bahias. And we're going to put that all in the bowl and make sure it's wet when it goes in. Then we'll put the bowl onto the base. It's important to protect your center post. It's a good idea to put a drop or two of oil on top of that center post before we bolt it down. We'll let the wing nut.
Oh,
I'm tumbling my wing nut.
found it. That wouldn't have been good.
Not be good. Yes, the bowl does have to be buckled down for it to work properly. If your bowl is loose, it doesn't tumble properly.
Also, I think just a wing nut going around in there probably scratch everything up.
Probably would not be good on the nut or the rocks. And yes, it's a long threaded bolt. Make sure that bolt's secure. And we're going to get this on the floor. We're going to add some grit and a little bit more water, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, we've got our vibratory tumbler on the floor. We got it loaded up with rocks that were wet when they were put in. We're going to add a little bit of ceramic media. This ceramic media is also wet. It helps get between the rocks, and it helps fill up some of the space on the tumbler. This tumbler can be, yeah?
Acts like a cushion.
It does. It cushions the rocks. This tumbler can be filled up just below the top of this center post. That's what we're looking for here. Okay. And it's going to be quite loud when I start up, especially before I put the lid on. And once we get started up, I'm going to put in
3
tablespoons of grit.
Yep.
And then we're going to see how we are on water. We might put in 2, 3, or maybe even 4 tablespoons of water if it looks a little dry. So let's start it up, see what it does. So you can see the rocks are tumbling pretty well. They come up quickly on the edge and go back toward the center. If they aren't tumbling well, you might have to add a little more water. You heard it quiet down when we got the grit in. We're going to let this run for an hour or 2, and then we're going to come back and see how it's doing. These have been rolling about 2 days in medium grit, so it's time to start cleaning them up. They feel nice and smooth. Put just a little bit of dish soap in there. I'll put in just a little bit of extra water. We'll start to loosen up that grit, let them roll for about 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and we'll be back to wash them off. Now that I've let the soap work around a little bit, it's time to give these a good rinse and clean out the bowl. Now with the bowl rinsed out and the rocks rinsed off, we're going to put in just a little bit more dish soap, a little bit of extra water, and I'm going to roll them for another 15 minutes, let them wash, then give them another good rinsing. Okay, our mixed batch has been running for 2 days in pre-polish, and we're going to start to clean them up here. The first part of the cleaning process is just to add a little bit of dish soap and a little bit of extra water.
Is that enough? More?
A little bit more. And then we'll roll them for about 15-30 minutes. And that'll start to loosen up the grit, and then we'll be back for the next process. Okay, so we got a little busy. We let these roll for about 45 minutes. As you can see, they're nice and sudsy. We're going to take the bowl off, dump them through a sieve, rinse them off, and then after that we'll give them another wash cycle. Okay, so the rocks have been rinsed off, the barrel's been rinsed out, and they're 99% clean. We're going to give them one more wash cycle. Make sure the bowl's secure. I'm going to put just a little bit of soap in there. A little extra water. And we'll try to roll them another 15 minutes. Our rocks have been through 2 wash cycles, and they're through the pre-polish. They're ready to go on to the polish stage. And we'll go through a few of them before I start. We've got some fancy jasper here, which Wolfie called Dragon Blood Jasper. And see, it's starting to take a bit of a shine. And once we get through the polish, hopefully it'll look nice and mirror-like. Got quite a few Botswana agates going through this batch. They're kind of smaller. They look real nice. We've got a little bit of Brazilian agate here. It's kind of a mixed batch. We got some brecciated jaspers. We've got a couple agates here. Some of them have some transparency there. That's real nice. This one has a little bit too. Here's another Botswana, nice pink one. And some locally collected chert. A lot of people don't like chert, but sometimes it has some nice patterns. We like that one. Now I washed these rocks twice, and then I scrub individual rocks. Like we have a little bit of Unikite going through still. We did a pure batch of Unikite, but we had a few pieces left. So we're trying to send them through with this batch. And at this point we want to really scrub, because this isn't a really solid material. We want to really scrub the little cracks and voids, make sure we don't send any grit on to the next stage. So I want to talk a little bit about our polisher. This is the Thumbler Ultravibe 10, called the UV10. They make a couple other models. They make a UV10 MB, MB standing for mini bowl. They make another UV10 that's a lighter model, and it'll have a yellow stripe on the side. This one has the blue stripe. It's the industrial model. They also make a UV18, which is a little too big for us. And there's not very many good videos on how to use these on the web. And there's actually some pretty bad videos on how to use them. So I want to go through a few things. The first really confusing thing about this machine is how much water to put in. Well, the short answer is you want to put in as much water as to coat all the rocks in the bowl, but not so much that there's standing water on the bottom of the bowl. Well, if you take a rock and you coat it completely with water, and then you break it in half, it's going to need more water to cover these new surfaces. So the smaller the rock, the more water you need. And people who have run the Lotto tumbler have figured out that they can fill their barrel with rocks and water. Now I don't have one, but this jar is the same concept. And then they turn it over and let all the water drain out between their fingers. And when the water stops running, that's how much water they need to run it. Well, that's fine, except for my bowl's too big to get my fingers over the top of. So we use a similar process here. We just take our rocks and our media, run them through a strainer. Once it stops straining, that's how much water we need. Once we have our wet rock and wet media into the barrel, you want to make sure that your barrel is completely full. And that means it's full just below the center post. I'm going to turn it on for just a moment. And you see that when the rocks settle down, we're just below the center post. If you're too low, you put in more media. Keeping the bowl full keeps the noise down. It also, because it keeps the rocks from chattering together, there's also less chance that you're going to chip your rocks or crack your rocks during the polish stage. So I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of polish and about 2 tablespoons of borax. Now the manufacturer will tell you that in the first stage, the medium stage, you never use this for the rough stage. The rough stage is always done in a rotary tumbler. And they'll tell you you put in 6 tablespoons. I've used 6 tablespoons, and that's too much. It slows down the action. So I use 3 tablespoons, or about 3 tablespoons in every stage. 3 tablespoons of medium grit in the first stage, stage 2 actually. I'll use 1 tablespoon of grit and 2 tablespoons of borax in the pre-polish. And then here I just used a teaspoon of polish and 2 tablespoons of borax. The borax thickens up the mix so it isn't too thin. And we get that rolling. Our rocks have been rolling in polish for about 2 days. They look pretty good. The movement's still pretty good. We're going to pull them out now. We've taken out a couple and they look fairly shiny. A little more about water balance. You saw the action was kind of slow, but it's still pretty good. They're still moving up from the outside and moving down toward the center. If you have too thick a slurry or not enough water, the rocks are going to come to the top and kind of dance around. They're not going to fall to the center in a nice pattern. Also, things will start cementing to the bottom. And sometimes you can add some water. I've added about 2 tablespoons of water through the last 2 days to keep this rolling a little better. But if you add too much water, there's consequences too. It seems like we have enough water here because the lid has some condensation on it and the water will collect on the lid. But if you add too much, you'll see the water collecting down here at the base of the center column. You'll see it splattering up on top of this wing nut and this washer, and you might see it splattering up on here. So that's a big problem. They look pretty good. We're going to add a little bit of soap. We're going to start the cleaning process, same as before. A little bit of soap now, a rinse, a wash with just soap and water, and then we might do a roll with just water itself for the final rinse. And then we'll clean these off and we'll be back to show you the results. Okay, our rocks are done. We have Wolfie back.
Hello.
And joining us is Luna. Luna says hello. They turned out pretty good. We have some jaspers over there by Wolfie.
Jasper.
A lot of Botswana agates. Large pile of Botswanas, some carnelians, a little bit of unikite. I have some Brazilian agates, one lone Lake Superior agate, a few random.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like agates and some jaspers, rose quartz over there.
A little bit of rose quartz and just some random pieces here. And we'll take a look at some individual ones now.
Yeah.
So that's a Brazilian agate. We have a few big pieces of Brazilian. And these aren't the fanciest ones we have, but I polished these kind of as a test.
Yeah, and you chopped these in half, didn't you, too?
Yeah, those have been cut. We have a pile of leftover unikite. We had done the unikite earlier, and this isn't the most solid material. A lot of it's pitted, but for what it was, it polished up pretty good. We have one lone Lake Superior agate, but it's a nice little one. What do you like, Luna?
That one? I think this is a piece of...
Well, it's a piece of jasper. It's a fancy jasper.
I think this one looks cool too.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool. I was
Yeah,
looking
that's
at
the one
these.
we were calling a dragon blood jasper. I'm not sure if that's the right name, but it sounds neat. The only way you can improve it is to add of death on the end. We had some brecciated jasper here. Turns out pretty nice. And we had a little bit of rose quartz that was kind of fractured. And we have some more of this still coming through, but for what it's worth, it polished up pretty nice.
It's pretty shiny.
Pretty shiny. Oh yeah, we have these agates that look like they're carnelian. Some of them are carnelian, some of them look kind of amber-like. I'm not sure what that material is. And it's got a nice shine on it.
Yeah, it
This-
looks kind of like glass.
It does. But the stars of the show are really the Botswana agates over here. Which ones do you like there?
That one's pretty cool.
You like the pink ones?
Yeah.
The pink ones are cool.
Yes, I like this one.
Yeah.
A lot of them have some banding. A few of them have some shadow banding. I'm not sure which ones at this point. But they all took a nice polish, and we're really happy with the way they turned out.
What do you have over there?
Oh, I have a couple pieces of crocodile jasper. I have some more of this coming through. We just got a couple pieces done early that we sent through. So that's going to be nice when we get the rest of that through. And Luna
that's cool.
is trying to show some, I believe it's green tree agate.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that one though.
Yeah, it's got some real nice banding there. Some nice inclusion, some nice moss in there. This one here, this looks like a Brazilian agate with a little bit of a druzy pocket in there.
There's some more of this dragon's. This one's much more green and red.
Yeah, that's some nice rock. Okay, so we're happy with the way this turned out. We've got some peer batches we're going to run through. Yeah, we'll try to bring those to you. We have some sodalite coming through, some labradorite, some bahia agates.
Green aventurine and blue quartz, right?
Yeah, those are in our mixed batch right
Oh,
now.
there.
Yeah, so they'll be coming through with some mixed stuff. But we have some peer batches we're going to do in the future also. So until then, this is the dude saying, be happy, be kind, and make your home a safe place. Bye.
Bye.
YouTube.